So since class was kind of a mess yesterday in terms of starting late and then getting interrupted and having a fire drill and having some random child come into my room, I didn't really finish painting my koi in front of y'all, and I wanted y'all to at least see me finish. So I still have the photo that I was referencing here on my phone so that y'all can see it. And I'm just referencing it to know like what a koi looks like. So I'm also trying to remember though, I'm not trying to make this look like a photograph. I'm trying to make this look like I have some knowledge or understanding of the Sumi-e brush strokes, okay? And that's the biggest thing that we're gonna be practicing on Monday when you guys start with Mrs. TG, is learning how to look at a photograph, is learning how to look at a photograph and then, you know, paint it in a Sumi-e style, okay? So you can see I've used some just light brush strokes of the gray first, just to get kind of like a light outline of the fish. And then I use that as my quote unquote sketch, like I would usually do with a pencil, for example. And now I'm kind of coming in and I'm adding my color and my value to get my fish rendered a little bit better. So I've got my brush and my paint, and I know that my lighting here is not so great today, so I may move to another room because it's kind of hard for y'all to see my color, okay? But I was working with some gray tones, so I'm gonna get some gray. And because this is in my sketchbook, you can see, even though I'm painting the fish here, I'm using these other parts of my paper to kind of test my colors. This was an actual project. I probably would want to do that on a separate sheet of paper, but because this is just practice, it doesn't really bother me that my strokes are there. So I can still think about like doing dagger strokes or doing little flick strokes or doing, you know, some stippling type of dots, you know, to imply scales, you know, using S curves or Z curves or C curves like we did with the goldfish yesterday, you know, and modifying that S curve thick to thin, if that's going to help. Okay. What I'm going to do right now, and I need to put my phone where it doesn't lock. Okay. Is I'm just going to be kind of looking at my picture, and I'm going to add some detail work using some of those Sumi-e brush strokes in the fins particularly, so that they kind of pop forward and have some nice movement. So that brush is a little bit darker than I wanted it to be in terms of the black, but it's okay. I can add, I'm kind of artistic licensing here now. My brush is wetter than I want it to be. So let me dry it off a little. I'm also going to add a little bit of water because my color's a little darker than I wanted it to be. Kind of add some little flicks here, some like dagger strokes to imply a fin on that side. I can come back and do the same thing over here. Now, yesterday I did that with a light gray, so maybe I want to add a little bit more pigment today and add some of the darker gray in. And I'm going to kind of come over here to this side of the fish where the fin is. And I'm going to elongate the fin a little bit so that I can practice doing some of those thin to thick Sumi-e brush strokes on the fin, or on the tail fin, I should say, because I think they're really beautiful. I'm putting my hand here to block some of the light so that y'all can see that a little bit better. And I'm trying to make the fin look like it was kind of coming forward, like maybe the fish was twisting or turning or something. And then I'm getting these kind of pretty marks back there. Okay. And then I can build up and get my color a little darker. So see, now it's a little bit darker. I can come in maybe to the bottom, ooh, too much paint. I can come into the bottom side of my fish and do some kind of stippling to pull out the bottom of the fish. I might also at this point kind of emphasize his eye a little bit. This brush is not doing the thin lines for me. So I'm taking it and kind of spinning it to help it get that point. I also want that to be dry, so I kind of just wipe that with my finger. I can kind of add in, you know, a little eye there. I think he had a little whisker. So I can use that same kind of S stroke thin curve there to give him a whisker. I think I'm even going to apply his other eye over here and then do some really thin brush work to kind of start to give him an outline as we go kind of down his body and start to kind of finalize his shape a little bit. And I can pull some of those S curves a little bit darker in his fin now. I'm going to zoom in a little bit because it's so bright in here that I'm losing some of these values in here that are light. I think I need to, actually, I think I'm going to prop a book up right here to block some of that light from, I'm sitting in front of a really bright window because I thought it'd be really nice light. And instead my camera is kind of, what's the word? My camera is kind of whiting out all my colors and values so you can't see them, which is making me a little mad. Okay. And then I might come in and add, and because there's a little bit of it still being wet, see how I'm getting some wet on wet blending happening there because it's still wet, which is really nice, especially if I had done this all in one sitting yesterday, because I would have gotten, when it dried, some really pretty blurs and kind of things happening that I'm not going to have happen today because I'm not lucky enough, it's dry now. But if you had done it all in one sitting, that could have happened. So I'm mixing some orange right now in my palette, which you can't see because I'm zoomed in. And I'm going to kind of come in and put some orange in here a little bit. And because there's black there, that orange and black are going to kind of mix a little bit, give me a little bit of a shadow on the bottom of the fish. I might even pull a little bit of orange into some of his fins with some nice kind of dagger strokes, or even into his tail fin a little bit. But my orange was very watered down, so it's not a very intense orange like I had up here on the top of the fish. That could be something I could kind of add later. Okay. And maybe I'll do a little bit of light gray. One thing is remember with Sumi-e, it is about simplicity. So you do have to kind of figure out how much do I want to do? When do I want to stop? Because you can overdo it. So I was testing a color down here. I'm going to put a little bit of shadow on the back of the fish back here. Kind of pull the fish like the tail is coming up. Gonna give him some shadow. And then I'm going to take the side of my bamboo brush and kind of add some little dots so that it can also still have that little scale-like texture to it. And I think I'm going to make a nice bright red orange. Mixing my red and my orange together. I love doing koi fish. I'll do them like hundreds of different ways. But this is just one from a photograph. And I'll come back in and I'll add, a little bit of texture onto the orange that I painted yesterday. If it had been wet, I could have gotten some cool wet on wet stuff happening. But, I did this yesterday, so it's a little bit drier. That's okay. Add in here. Maybe I'll add a few of those intense strokes in the tail. Not many. Okay. And maybe I'll add a little bit down here in the back because that's going to bleed on me. Okay. But I don't want to go overboard. Okay. Because again, this is about simplicity and not having too many brush strokes. Okay. I will say if you put something down and you don't like it, while it's wet, you can kind of get a paper towel and blot it a little bit. And in that case, it actually kind of acts like an eraser. And I kind of, not only did I pick up the white or the red, but it kind of left a cool texture in my orange. So sometimes that can be kind of fun to experiment with what happens when you kind of blot with a paper towel, because it'll pick up color, but it also kind of erases the color and can leave a texture. So some of my students like to do that. I'm going to come back. I think I'm going to do one other thing because his back looks a little funny. I'm going to move this tail feather in a little, not tail feather, top fin, whatever you want to call it. Sorry, my phone, like no one's been texting me all morning. And then I start recording and my phone starts going off. And I'm going to put a little bit of shadow back in here, a little bit of that gray color to make him look like he's curved back. Okay, and I'm going to leave him alone because he's starting to get a little funky looking. I'm going to give him a little, oh, my brush is peeling. Okay, test my color, make sure I like it. Okay, I don't, so I'm getting a different color and see if I like it more. That's better. Kind of give him his little mouthpiece right here. They have a little flat piece on the front of their face. All right, and I'm going to give him a kind of sharper eyebrow. So he's an angry koi fish. All right, and where some of that wet on wet was happening, I want to get some finer lines. As long as it's drier, which it doesn't appear to be right now, I can do that. So you always kind of have to pay attention to what is kind of happening with your brush. Put a few little marks in here. Maybe a few here. Just kind of on the outside pieces. That darker black. And I'm calling it a day. All right, there's my koi fish. And you'll be able to see that I painted this exact same fish last semester, just to show you that things never come out exactly how you think they're going to. And that's why you might want to trial and error and even do these in a couple of different versions. Okay, I'm trying to find my sketchbook that I did this in last year. But I did the exact same koi fish last year, or last semester. Look how different the paintings look. 1 and 2. All right, which one looks more Sumi-e? I don't really know. All right, I don't know if they were exact same koi fish, but they were very similar koi fish, but just for comparison. Okay, good luck, guys. And I can't wait to check your Google Drive folders and see what y'all did. Have a great weekend. Bye.